Well, it was here at Kingsbury High School where that brutal double stabbing took place yesterday. This morning, police remain on the scene as a major investigation continues.
And so much of the battle for number 10 being over, today Sir Keir Starmer will clash with Tory leader Kemi Badenoch at what will be a fiery Prime Minister's questions as Health Secretary Wes Streeting is accused of undermining him even further from the right and the centre. Has the Prime Minister lost all authority?
This is a devastating and unimaginable tragedy. We can't imagine what the community is going through, but I know it's causing us all to hug our kids a little bit tighter.
We can confirm that 2 members of our Jewish community have sadly died as a result of this attack.
Well, 4 months on since the terror attack on a Manchester synagogue, today it's revealed that anti-Semitic incidents have spiked in the immediate aftermath.
And the Birmingham bin workers have voted to strike for another 6 months as rubbish has now piled up in our second city for over a year.
We're able to answer 999 calls in 3 seconds, 101 calls in 7 seconds. Everybody that needs us, we get there as quickly as we possibly can.
Well, back to basics policing. Find out why Humberside Police are the best force in Britain for bringing shoplifters to justice.
That police force adopted a zero-tolerance policy to shoplifting, whereas we know in other parts of the country, unless the shop reports that they've nicked more than £250 worth, the police completely ignore it. And we've seen even little corner shops having to employ security staff. Humberside Police deserve all our gratitude, I think.
Absolutely, because we know that a lot of violent crimes have actually gone down, which of course is very good news. But what really, really irritates people is these, they call them low-level crimes, but actually they're really disruptive. They give the sense that the police don't care. So well done, Humberside Police. More of that.
More of that. As ever, we want to know what you think. Send your views, post your comments by visiting
gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's your 60-second news update with Tatiana Sanchez.
Miriam, thank you very much and good morning. The top stories. Police will continue to question a 13-year-old boy on suspicion of attempted murder today as counter-terrorism officers lead an investigation into a double stabbing at a school in northwest London. Elsewhere, 9 people have been killed and 25 injured in shootings at a school and home in British Columbia in Western Canada. 6 victims were found dead inside Tumbler Ridge Secondary School, while a 7th person died on the way to hospital. Officials say the suspect's body was also found at the school with a self-inflicted injury. President Donald Trump will host Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House today as tensions continue to rise across the Middle East and negotiations intensify over curbing Iran's nuclear weapons program. And reports of anti-Semitism incidents in the UK spiked after the deadly Manchester synagogue attack last year. The volunteer-run Community Security Trust says 40 incidents were recorded on the day of the attack and 40 the day after, the highest daily totals of 2025. And those are the latest headlines. More in half an hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Horror at a school classroom in North London where there was a double stabbing of 2 pupils aged 12 and 13 yesterday.
Well, a 13-year-old boy has been arrested on suspicion of murder and the investigation is being led by counter-terrorism officers.
Tell us more is GB News reporter Isabel Pekenak.
Hi, hello Isabel. What can you tell us?
Here at Kingsbury School here, the lower school remaining closed today, pupils told to stay at home. One parent saying that they were obviously traumatised by what they saw in that classroom yesterday. What we know is that 2 boys aged 12 and 13 are currently in serious conditions in hospital following a double stabbing. Now the suspect that the police have in custody is a 13-year-old boy, and a resident has said that children at the school claimed that that offender was not a pupil from Kingsbury High School here. Now, counter-terrorism police leading that investigation, though it is not currently being claimed that it was a terrorist plot. The motive behind the attack still being left under an open mind from the investigations. Now, yesterday it was declared by a witness that the suspect came over a gate here behind me and broke into the school that way, then going on to attack a 13-year-old boy, and witnesses saying that he was stabbed in the neck and back, and then moving on to stab the next victim. They were both rushed off via air ambulance to a hospital nearby. Now, during that attack, a witness had said that the suspect shouted Allahu Akbar. However, that is not confirmed, and as I said, counter-terrorism police keeping an open mind as to what the motivation might be.
Okay, Isabel, yeah, thank you so much for that. We'll keep you up to date on that throughout the day here on GB News. Now, moving on, it's going to be a fiery Prime Minister's questions today,
really
for sure. Only last week, Kemi Badenoch challenging the Prime Minister about whether he had confidence in Morgan McSweeney, his Chief of Staff. He said he did, and he'd gone by Sunday.
Absolutely. And we did wonder if the Prime Minister would go as well, but he refused to step down at the weekend. But the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, has been making moves. I'm sure Kemi Badenoch will be asking about him.
Yeah.
Do you think Starmer has enough authority left, Andrew? Because we did see the Cabinet come out and show their support on Twitter.
But it was lukewarm. We now know they were instructed to speak up for the Prime Minister because there was at least an hour or two in Number 10 when there was no authority left at all in the building. And they just took their time, didn't they? The Guardian reports on the front page today, Streeting will move after the May local elections. Now, Streeting's people are very angry because they say the Guardian didn't bother to go to him for a response. But he would have denied it anyway.
Well, of course he would. But I think that the thing that is protecting the Prime Minister's position at the moment is the fact there is no obvious candidate. Because, of course, Wes Streeting, we know he's a very good media performer. He's clearly well respected at the Department for Health. But he is seen as on the right, the Blairite wing, which has taken a kicking this week. And I don't know if he has the support in Parliament, but also amongst the membership, who are much more left-wing than the MPs.
And if the Prime Minister had real authority, he would have sacked him, because the emails he published from Lord Mandelson to try to show that he's not Lord Mandelson's patsy, which I think he rather is, one of them said there is no strategy for growth. That is a terrible denunciation of the government's entire economic programme, and yet he stays in the Cabinet.
Yes, and of course he is free to say that in private, of course, but he chose to publish those messages, which was an extraordinary choice, and the police have said, please stop doing it.
Because they think these emails and texts between Mandelson and ministers will be germane to the ongoing police inquiry, which now, Labour, we hear from the government, they are now going to extend the investigation all the way back to when Mandelson first became a cabinet minister back in 1998, because was he giving away secrets to other people that early on in his political career? And
the Times are reporting that there are a number of civil servants now working full-time on going through these documents. There must be tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of relevant documents and emails. And I'm afraid there'll be some smoking guns in there which will seriously embarrass the Prime Minister and probably Wes Streeting, who is his closest ally in the Cabinet. It is going to run on and on, isn't it? It is going to be a saga. Well, Kevin Schofield is the political editor at HuffPost UK. He joins us this morning. Good morning, Mr. Schofield. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Do you think, looking at Keir Starmer's prospects, he is likely to remain leader to the May election at least, and potentially further? What are your predictions?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's more likely than not to stay in position, sort of stumble on really until May. We've obviously got the Gorton and Denton by-election on February the 26th. I think that's another potential flashpoint if Labour were, say, to come third in that by-election, then, you know, things could get pretty hairy for the Prime Minister. But I don't see that being enough to unseat him so close to the May elections. I think the calculation that a lot of his potential rivals are making is that it may well be better now just to let him go on till May and carry the can for what happens in May. I don't think it's going to be good for Labour. I spoke to one senior figure yesterday who says it's going to be terrible for Labour. There's no prospect of them making any kind of comeback between now and then. And then a challenge. So I don't see him surviving really much longer after that. But I think he will make it to the elections in May.
What about the question about his authority? It almost seems to me to be draining away. He's lost his chief of staff. His head of communications went this week to the fourth one since they got into number 10. Wes Streeting publishing emails which are openly disloyal and critical of the direction of this government. And yet Starmer does nothing about it because I'd say, perhaps you would disagree, he's too weak to discipline or sack Wes Streeting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is probably true. I think the calculation inside number 10 as well is that, you know, that would just set off another firestorm in the party at a time when the Prime Minister is trying desperately to move on. I mean, I think, ironically, Anas Sarwar calling for him to go on Monday actually strengthened Keir Starmer. It may well just be a short-lived dead cat bounce, maybe, but it definitely helped him. I was outside the Parliamentary Labour Party meeting on Monday evening, and, you know, as expected, I've seen it with Conservative Prime Ministers as well. They get, you know, cheered to the rafters when they walk into the room. It's all very performative for the benefit, mainly of journalists standing outside. But I saw him when he came out, he was hugging MPs. You know, there was definitely a feeling that it certainly helped him bolster his position, but I still think it's pretty short-lived, and come the crunch, a challenge will be made to him.
Kevin, there are extraordinary parallels, I think, between this Keir Starmer erosion of authority and the last weeks and months of the Boris Johnson premiership. Of course, very different men, different circumstances, but this kind of gradual erosion of authority. And one of the things, certainly I remember from January 2022, was MPs looking at the polls and frankly panicking. And in that time, it was when the Conservative Party was falling below 35% in the polls. We're now seeing the Labour Party below 20%. It seems unlikely to me that even a change of leader could really dig Labour out of this hole, which is far more deep than just their leader. Do you think Labour MPs realise that, or are they hoping for some kind of magical boost in the polls as they change leader?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, Miriam, you've seen it with Conservative leaders as well. The Conservatives went through an awful lot of leaders. It didn't, in the end, save them from a terrible result in the general election. I think at the moment, a lot of Labour MPs are thinking, you know, something needs to be done. Replacing Keir Starmer is something, therefore it needs to be done. So, you know, even if they're not completely sold on who the replacement is going to be, I just think they think there's no point in continuing with Keir Starmer. Assuming that the elections in May are as bad as everyone predicts, then I think they'll just have to roll the dice almost and just think we might as well get a new face in at the top, new ideas, a fresh approach, and hope that gives us a louder hearing with the public. But you're right, whoever takes over has got a mountain to climb.
And isn't, in the meantime, Keir Starmer going to lurch to the left with Ed Miliband telling us and Angela Rayner talking about it's going to be about much more about class? Doesn't that mean taxing the middle class even more?
Well, that was quite significant. He mentioned that a few times yesterday on the broadcast room, didn't he, Ed Miliband? I mean, one senior figure said to me on Sunday after Morgan McSweeney went, you know, this is a soft left. They'll now take over the party. You know, this is a disaster, they said, for the right of the party. Keir Starmer will now try to pander, basically, to the left to try and keep himself in position. I think that's probably a safe analysis. I don't think it will be enough to keep him in position. It won't be enough, certainly, to save Labour's bacon, probably in the by-election and certainly in May. And ultimately, what we're seeing just now about these professions of loyalty from over 100 MPs, every cabinet minister, they'll be quickly forgotten if come the 8th of May.
Kevin Schofield from HuffPost, thank you so much for coming on this morning.
To the head, we're going to hear from Britain's best police force for tackling shoplifting and prioritising neighbourhood policing. We want more of it, don't we?
Absolutely. And up next, a new report reveals that anti-Semitic incidents spiked in the aftermath of that deadly terror attack on the Manchester synagogue in October. You're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News. Stick with us.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Still plenty of unsettled weather throughout the Mediterranean, particularly windy in Corsica, Sardinia, Sicily, and it's going to be a wet one for parts of France as well as Greece. But finally, for much of Iberia at the moment, it is drier and sunnier compared with recent weather, aside from the far south of Spain and Gibraltar. Here, we've got a lot of unsettled weather moving through Corsica, Sardinia, Sicily, parts of Italy, some heavy rain. That pushes into Croatia and Greece next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Martin Daubney, weekdays from 3 p.m.
Now, outraged pensioners are calling on the government to rule against this review to scrap Freeview TV. Now, that could plunge the most vulnerable into isolation and force millions to pay for expensive broadband contracts they simply don't want. Now, a petition has now amassed more than 100,000 signatures, and joining me now is the director of Silver Voices, Dennis Reed, who started this petition. Dennis, always a delight to have you on the show. It sincerely is, and it's not fair to get pensioners who just want to switch on their TV, and many of them do, to watch GB News. Thank you to all of them who are tuning in now on Freeview, to be expected to update. They don't want it. They don't want to go there. Why force them?
Well, absolutely. And it's not just the vulnerable and older people that are going to suffer here, Martin. It's all low-income people who can't afford to have the expensive broadband contract that will be needed if terrestrial TV is switched off. And everybody has to get broadband in order to see their favourite programmes, of course, including GB News. So yes, it is extremely important. Millions of people are sitting at home who may have internet TV at the moment, but they also have an aerial on the roof or in the loft, which, if they couldn't afford that broadband contract, they could always fall back on and get Freeview TV. Now, the government's going to take a decision in the next few months, a very important decision, about whether to switch off those terrestrial signals. And that has major implications for the economy too, because emergency services rely on the same signal system. Radio relies on the same system.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 10 to 10. You're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Well, there's been a huge spike in anti-Semitism attacks following the deadly Manchester synagogue attack last year.
Well, these incidents include face-to-face taunting of Jewish people, celebration of the attack, and abusive responses to public condemnation of the internet.
Lord Mann is the government's independent advisor on anti-Semitism. Lord Mann, good morning. This is very depressing, and for you very personally, a matter of great hurt for you as a leading figure in the Jewish community.
Well, I mean, I simply advise in the Jewish community, but it's
it's very dangerous, actually. You know, we see a rise in anti-Semitism immediately after the first murder of Jewish people in our country in our lifetime, and very overt anti-Semitism. This isn't kind of, you know, stuff where you're arguing, is it anti-Semitism, is it anti-Semitism? Very straightforward. It's people who hate Jewish people who want to do them damage. And having done so, having murdered 2 wonderful people and injured others, you have others celebrating this, baiting the Jewish community and threatening more. And we've got laws, the laws should be used. These people should be arrested and jailed.
And are they being?
No, rarely. And you know, we seem to get somewhere lost in, you know, we get more bothered about people saying things stupid, which is a problem, but education can deal with that. We jailed every MP who said something stupid, there won't be many left. But the education deals with that. That's how I deal. If an MP is anti-Semitic, what I do is I insist with their party that we re-educate them. We take them for a day. We don't publicise it. We don't name them if they're prepared to learn. And that's across all parties. And I mean all parties, with no exceptions. And that's pretty effective. This is something different. This is people who want to do damage to people, to hurt, to harm, to destroy people, destroy the Jewish community and individuals. Education is too late for them. There's no redemption there. We can't take them over for a day and explain, oh, you're a bit stupid. You're a bit careless, you're a bit thoughtless. Get your act together, which is what we do with people like MPs. These are people who are intent on damage. And whether they personally are going to attack someone or not, what they're saying suggests they might. That's against the law. And therefore you deal with them, you sanction them. Employers should sack them where they find out. We shouldn't tolerate them in any way, because what will happen if we allow this to continue is more people will be murdered. And terrorists have murdered other people, of course. They've murdered repeatedly British citizens. Some are Jewish, but frankly, if someone's Jewish, I don't think they particularly care whether they're murdered with non-Jewish people or murdered as Jewish people. They'll still be murdered. And I don't think the media's given enough attention to what's really going on. The last jailings, we caught these people, thankfully. But in Manchester, prosecuted after the murders, they were only targeting children under 5.
Gosh, Lord man, I'm so...
Under 5. And nurseries in Manchester, people don't know this. Nurseries in Manchester are having to give 2, 3, 4-year-olds training in what to do if there's a terrorist attack in their nursery. That's Jewish nurseries, but also other nurseries as well. That's going on this week.
That is
people
shocking.
Don't know about it.
That is shocking,
That's
Lord
why,
Man.
as a society, we've got to do something.
That is shocking. That young.
I mean, it's beyond shocking. It's beyond shocking. You know, people are shocked when they learn that Jewish schools have to have security. The kind of discussions I'm having, people say, well, perhaps it should be armed security. Well, hang on a minute. What's going on in this country when we have to have any security for kids going to school? And where are the voices condemning this, but not just condemning this, doing something about it across all communities? There needs to be some leadership, and that leadership needs to be included in the communities where the majority of these terrorists are coming from.
Well, I assume you're talking about Islamism and Islamist terrorism. I mean, it's something that's been very difficult for politicians to talk about, but it seems that we really do need to address some anti-Semitic attitudes within the Muslim community. Of course, not all Muslims, but we do know that they are more prevalent in those communities. How would you suggest the government goes about that?
Well, there's 2 separate problems. One is an underlying general anti-Semitism, not one that's going to express itself in violence. And education can deal with that, in my view. But the education has to be where people are at. It's not going to work any other way. We're not doing that. We haven't yet, and I keep asking for this, we've not yet trained teachers in schools. Every teacher in our schools should be taught how to identify anti-Semitism and what to do when it happens in their classroom. We haven't done that. So it's hardly a surprise that this thing has been growing and growing. But there's a separate set of extremists in the Muslim community.
Lord Mann, I am so sorry to cut you off, but unfortunately we have reached the end of the hour. I'm so sorry to have cut you off. Thank you so much for coming on. I would definitely have you back.
And shocking what he had to say, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Well, don't go away. We've got plenty more to come. You're watching Britain's Newsroom, Britain's favourite morning show on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the A90 northbound at Inveraldy, there are restrictions following an incident. On the A19 northbound between the A1018 and the A690 near Sunderland, one lane is closed after a crash, with delays of around 20 minutes until about 11:45 this morning. On the A11 southbound between the A47 and the A1075 in Norfolk, a lane closure is causing similar hold-ups until around 20 to 11 this morning. And on the trains, East Midlands Railway and Thameslink have major disruption between London St Pancras International and Luton Airport Parkway. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
You could win cash and the ultimate holiday in our two-part Great British Giveaway. Thanks to Riviera Travel, you could be jetting off on a £10,000 dream holiday for two people. With flights, transfers and luxury accommodation included, you'll get to choose the kind of holiday you want. Plus, we're going to give you £30,000 in tax-free cash.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah,
and now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. It's 10 o'clock on Wednesday, the 11th of February. We're live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Horror in the classroom this morning. Counter-terrorism police continue to question a 13-year-old boy after two pupils, a 12 and a 13-year-old, were stabbed at a school in northwest London.
Well, the battle for number 10 rages on today. Sir Keir Starmer will clash with the Tory leader Kemi Badenoch at PMQs. Meanwhile, the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, is being accused of undermining him left, right and centre. Has the PM got enough authority to keep going?
Yes, the coup that never was on Monday seems to have fizzled out, and Keir Starmer is safe for now. But all of that could change after the May elections, or perhaps even sooner. Find out more with me very soon.
And a school shooting in Canada, 10 dead, including the killer, 25 injured. injured after one of Canada's worst mass shootings at a secondary school. British Columbia Premier David Eby condemned the attack.
This is a devastating and unimaginable tragedy. We can't imagine what the community is going through, but I know it's causing us all to hug our kids a little bit tighter.
We can confirm that 2 members of our Jewish community have sadly died as a result of this attack.
Well, we're now 4 months on since that terror attack on a Manchester synagogue, and today it's revealed that anti-Semitic incidents spiked in the immediate aftermath.
And those Birmingham bin workers have voted to strike for another 6 months as the rubbish has been piling up now for over a year.
We're able to answer 999 calls in 3 seconds, 101 calls in 7 seconds. Everybody that needs us, we get there as quickly as we possibly can.
And back to basics policing. Find out why homicide police are the best force in Britain for bringing shoplifters to justice. Andrew, it seems so counterintuitive that there's an attack on the Jewish community, whether that was the Hamas terrorist attack in Israel or the Manchester synagogue attack here last year, and then there's a spike of more people attacking Jews rather than coming out in sympathy.
It encourages more people, and some of the abuse that's been detailed it's face-to-face abuse, it's not online abuse. The Jewish community must feel under siege.
Yeah, and Lord Mann was telling us before the break that not only do Jewish schools have security already, they have done for many, many years, but some of them are considering armed security. And he seemed to distinguish between 2 types of anti-Semitism: people who would just have a dim view of Jews and Jewish society but would never do anything about it, and then people who take it further. But I don't know if you can distinguish between the two, because how do you know who will go on from private anti-Semitic opinions to doing something about it? I don't think you can tell it that easily.
It's very worrying. If you are Jewish, what's your experience of this? Have you experienced overt anti-Semitic abuse? Tell us we always want to know what you think. Send your views, post your comments by visiting
gbnews.com/your say. But first, here's your news with Tatiana Sanchez.
Andrew, Miriam, thank you. The top stories. Police will continue to question a 13-year-old boy on suspicion of attempted murder today as counter-terrorism officers lead an investigation into a double stabbing at a school in northwest London. Officers were called to Kingsbury High School around 12:40 yesterday afternoon following reports a 13-year-old boy had been stabbed. Police say they were later made aware that a second victim, a 12-year-old boy, had also been stabbed at the scene. Both boys were taken to hospital, with one admitted to a major trauma centre as a priority. Officers said they were both believed to be in a serious condition. A resident has said today that children at the school claimed that the offender was not a pupil at Kingsbury High School. Elsewhere, 9 people have been killed and 25 injured in shootings at a school and home in British Columbia in Western Canada. 6 victims were found dead inside Tumbler Ridge Secondary School, while a 7th person died on the way to hospital. Officials say the suspect's body was also found at the school with a self-inflicted injury. 2 more people were found dead inside a residence nearby. Police believe the shootings are linked. Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney says he's devastated by today's horrific shootings as he suspended a planned trip to Germany. British Columbia Premier David Eby condemned the attack.
This is a devastating and unimaginable tragedy. We can't imagine what the community is going through, but I know it's causing us all to hug our kids a little bit tighter.
Elsewhere, it's being reported that police have released a man hours after they detained him in connection to the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, the mother of US news anchor Savannah Guthrie. Sources say after taking the man into custody, police searched his home in Rio Rico, south of Tucson in Arizona. After his release, the man told reporters outside his home that he did not know who Nancy Guthrie was, adding, "I don't follow the news." 84-year-old Guthrie was abducted from her home near Tucson more than a week ago, sparking a widespread search and desperate appeals from her family. It comes after officials released videos and images showing a masked person who they say was armed at her doorstep the night that she disappeared. Sir Keir Starmer will face Prime Minister's questions today after fighting back against pressure to quit. It comes after the Prime Minister pledged to never walk away and said he'd lead the Labour Party into the next general election. Sir Keir hit out at infighting within his party and said the political turmoil would not stop him after Scottish Labour leader Anna Sarwar called for him to resign. The Prime Minister said his government should be acting together over the release of files on Peter Mandelson after Wes Streeting published his exchanges with the former ambassador. Richard Holden, the Shadow Transport Secretary, spoke to GB News.
We have to get rid of him. We cannot have a situation in which a Prime Minister put a friend of a convicted child sex trafficker into our most important diplomatic position, which is what he did when he appointed Peter Mandelson. And the only reason Labour cabinet ministers are not acting today is they're waiting. They're waiting to try and position for a little bit better for themselves in the future. We know Angela Rayner's still got this HMRC investigation ongoing. We're treating all of these messages him and Lord Mandelson were exchanging. They want that to go away, and they want Keir Starmer to take the sort of political hit for the local elections and this by-election that's coming up.
Meanwhile, the Education Minister, Georgia Gold, OBE, says the Prime Minister has her full support. She also added that Downing Street was not aware Sir Keir Starmer's former communications chief, Lord Doyle, had campaigned for paedophile Sean Morton when his peerage was announced.
He's taken action to remove the whip from Matthew Doyle. He's determined to have the highest standards in public life. But I am absolutely clear that he is somebody who will ensure that no stone is unturned to take on violence against women and girls, to take on child sex abuse, and to make sure that powerful men are held accountable for the things that they've done.
The boss of British Gas says electricity in Britain is on track to cost more in 2030 than it did during the energy crisis triggered by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Chris O'Shea said system costs were expected to push up power prices for the rest of the decade as the government oversees an upgrade of the electricity grid to prepare for net zero. The warning suggests that Ed Miliband's pledge to slash energy bills by £300 is dead in the water unless levies on energy bills used to fund grid investment are moved to taxation. Average power bills jumped from £717 a year in 2021 to £1,200 in 2023 after Russia's invasion. The current price cap stands at £1,758 a year for a typical household. The government made affordable energy a key manifesto promise. President Donald Trump will host Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House today as tensions continue to rise across the Middle East and negotiations intensify over curbing Iran's nuclear weapons program. Iranian officials have ruled out putting Iran's missiles, one of the largest such arsenals in the Middle East, up for discussion and have said Tehran wants recognition of its right to enrich uranium. And reports of anti-Semitism incidents in the UK spiked after the deadly Manchester synagogue attack last year. The volunteer-run Community Security Trust said 40 incidents were recorded on the day of the attack and 40 the day after, the highest daily totals of 2025. Worshippers Melvin Kravitz and Adrian Dalby were killed on the 2nd of October last year when Jihad al-Shami drove into the gates of the Heaton Park synagogue in Manchester and began attacking with a knife while wearing a fake suicide belt. Those are the latest headlines. More from me in half an hour.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We are live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates. Shall we have a see what people have been saying?
I think you should.
There's some quite controversial opinions here. Liam says, does GB News believe that the rise in anti-Semitism might be linked to the increase in the Muslim population of the UK? Well, it's certainly a strong theory because we do know that there are some aspects of the Islamic religion that do target Jews. Of course,
yes.
not all Jews by any means.
And it is the extremists.
But when you poll opinions on Jews and Israel, there is a marked difference between Muslims and non-Muslims. So, of course, that's a factor.
And I've seen the pro-Palestine marches in central London on a Saturday. They still go on every Saturday. And I've heard the vile anti-Jewish abuse, the chance, and I've watched the police do absolutely nothing about it, which is shameful, because I suspect if it was a vile chance about the Muslim faith, anti-Muslim, I suspect the people would be bundled straight into a Black Maria.
They might well do. And, of course, the government's still trying to bring in its Islamophobia definition. Not sure where that's up to. Jeff says, so talking about this horrific story where a boy had stabbed 2 other children in a school in London, Jeff says, children with knives, is it time to arrest and charge the parents with the same offence as the child? I think it depends on the age of the child, doesn't it?
Yeah, I remember interviewing the Chief Constable years ago when I was on the Telegraph, and he said you're going to have to get to a point where in certain schools you need knife detector machines outside the schools, the sort of thing you see at airports.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a terrible thing?
I mean, it is terrible, but...
and security guards,
but parents sending their children to school not knowing if they're safe. Well, of course, we're seeing in Canada an appalling incident with many dead, dozens, dozen wounded. Again, I assume that was a gun, which obviously is much more likely in America. But yeah, absolutely terrifying. And Peter says, onto the bin strikes, your favourite topic, Andrew.
I think it's a
It must be great being a rat in
city.
Birmingham, is what Peter says.
Yeah,
it's good news for rats.
Very fat. On the proceeds of the bin strike. It's been going on for a year, and Unite the Union have voted to extend the strike till September. There are local elections in Birmingham in May. What a disaster for the Labour administration. The council's gone bankrupt, and this strike has been going on for over a year. And what are they doing about it?
It's a rubbish situation.
Rubbish situation. Moving on, talking of a rubbish situation for the Prime Minister, he's going to have a very difficult time, I would say, torrid time at Prime Minister's Questions today. Olivia Utley, our political correspondent here. West Streeting is on the front pages again today. The Guardian saying whatever his protestations of loyalty, which I have to say sounded hollow to me, by May, after the local elections, he will be triggering a leadership contest.
Well, I have to say his protestations of loyalty sounded rather hollow to me as well. Wes Streeting is one of the most ambitious men.
It's written on his
Westminster. Well, absolutely. I mean, it was so strange what happened on Monday. We all thought that a coup was about to take place, that Keir Starmer was about to be brought down, that someone was going to move against him, because, of course, that's how a Labour leadership election works. Not the same as the Conservatives, where they vote no confidence in their leader and then there's a leadership contest between 2 new people. Someone in Labour is going to have to stand up and trigger a leadership election against Keir Starmer. Now, on Monday, everyone thought there was a plan, and that plan just didn't quite come off. Either Wes Streeting or Angela Rayner or Ed Miliband was thought to be about to launch that leadership contest. None of them did. Why? Well, for each of them, the timing isn't really quite right. Wes Streeting, of course, is implicated in all of this Mandelson saga as well.
Close. They're very close.
They're very close, much closer, actually, than Keir Starmer and Peter Mandelson ever were. Keir Starmer's poor judgment.
Nearly 20 years.
Absolutely. They were on the same dinner party circuit.
Absolutely.
I thought Wes Streeting looked very uncomfortable on the media round last week talking about it. He's tried to put it all to bed by preemptively releasing the communications between them. But I think to some people that's looking a little bit desperate. Wes Streeting is hoping that this all goes away, at least for him, before he has to launch this leadership contest. Meanwhile, Angela Rayner, of course, still being investigated for her tax affairs. It's rumoured that she's told HMRC to hurry up the process, presumably because she...
Don't think it's up to her.
Well, exactly. And meanwhile, Ed Miliband has the support of the membership, who tend to lean a little more to the left than the parliamentary party, but isn't popular among Labour MPs, and he wants to shore up that support before a leadership contest gets going. So Keir Starmer is held in place for now, but his looking very, very rocky indeed. Wes Streeting looks very much, all of the rumours are, people close to him sort of suggesting on back channels that he is planning a move just after the May elections. I think the risk for Wes Streeting is that that's a bit too late, partly because Angela Rayner could, of course, mount a challenge before Wes Streeting manages to get there. But also, I think this sort of plotting and then pledging his undying loyalty to Keir Starmer looks a little bit two-faced. It's very similar to what Andy Burnham did back during the Labour Party conference. It looked as though he was about to make a move, and then he didn't. And I don't think that goes down particularly well either with the parliamentary party or with the country at large. Generally, I think Streeting is not in a stronger position as he was a few weeks ago. For now, Keir Starmer is holding on to his position, essentially because there's no one else quite ready to make that move. I think, though, it's only a matter of time.
Now, Olivia, there have always been ambitious people in politics. There are always rivalries at the top. You need ambitious people in politics because otherwise, why would you, frankly, go into it and put yourself through it? But the difference this time, and similarly under Boris Johnson in the last government, is that MPs are watching the government collapse in the polls, and they're going to be seeing constituents come to their surgeries, tell them about their struggles with the cost of living, that things have actually got worse under the Labour government instead of better. And so what's in it? What have they got to lose? What have these backbenchers got to lose in seeking a new leader, whoever that is? They're looking at a terrible situation.
Well, exactly. And I think what's so important to remember about Keir Starmer is that although he does have this enormous majority, just 3 seats fewer than Tony Blair won in 1997, it was a loveless landslide, as they say. The Labour Party won because it wasn't the Conservatives, and the Conservatives were so unpopular. And what that means is that Labour backbenchers don't feel as though they owe their seats to Keir Starmer. They don't feel loyalty to him. And as you say, Miriam, this week it's parliamentary recess. They'll all be back in their constituencies. They'll be talking to MPs on the doorstep. Starmer is so unpopular. I think, for me, it's now just only a matter of time.
I completely agree. Fascinating, Olivia. We'll keep you up to date on that, of course, here on GB News. Time now, though, for our Great British Giveaway. £10,000 for your hot summer holiday. If you do one of those, all this rain, you get £30,000 tax-free cash. Here's how you do it.
You could win cash and the ultimate holiday in our 2-part Great British Giveaway. Thanks to Riviera Travel, you could be jetting off on a £10,000 dream holiday for 2 people. With flights, transfers and luxury accommodation included, you'll get to choose the kind of holiday you want. So whether you're looking for hotel comfort or on a relaxing river cruise, you'll be able to find the perfect match from over 30 global destinations on offer. And because the holiday is handpicked with you in mind, you know it's going to be perfect. Plus, we're going to give you £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Your summer can start here, so make sure you don't miss out.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, still ahead, the Reform UK leader Nigel Farage says he would end work-from-home culture. Surely his party wouldn't ever have advertised working-from-home positions, would they, Andrew?
Of course they wouldn't, or would they?
We've got the receipts.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about that with our panellist Mike Parry and Stephen Pound, who was once a Labour MP and still admits to it, who's holding a very sweet treat. What is that?
Happy birthday, Andrew! You kept that quiet.
I certainly did. What a nice cake.
Oh, yeah, looking forward to that.
Very big cake.
It is.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Venice is being invaded by cannibalistic jellyfish with vanishing bottoms. And they're wreaking havoc across the city's fragile lagoon ecosystem. Well, it is indeed Tom's favourite time of the day. Tom Harwood, over to you.
Not many people know this, but the B in GB News actually stands for biology. Marine biology, that is. So welcome to Marine Biology Corner. We're going to have a look at what is a remarkable jellyfish. Let me just set the scene with some water here. And this is known as the warty comb jelly. Some people call it the sea walnut, because this particular jellyfish has basically a pretty stationary lifestyle. It looks like it's almost not moving, but there are some remarkable things about this jellyfish. Number one, it is a hermaphrodite. So let's just sort of, yes, it's a hermaphrodite. It can reproduce by itself and choose whether to use large or small gametes in order to do so. I'll let your imaginations run wild on that. It's also functionally immortal. This jellyfish is one of those sorts of jellyfish that can actually revert back to an early life stage. It can sort of reverse its own puberty and then go through those life cycles again and again and again. Functionally immortal unless something eats it. But perhaps the most concerning thing about this particular jellyfish is it's got a transient anus. Now, what does that mean? That means that when this jellyfish needs to excrete, an anus appears. But then once the excretion is over, the anus just completely disappears again.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's 22 minutes past 10. Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Mike Parry's here and former Labour MP Stephen Pound in the studio. Now, chaps, Thomas Frank has been sacked.
Yes.
Miriam and I say... Who?
Yeah, well...
Do explain.
Tottenham manager. And it just shows the crisis at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. You know, one of the most prestigious clubs in this country. They have the most expensive football ground in the world. It cost £1 billion to build. And they've got to raise the money to pay for that ground, and that means they must have success. And I'm afraid after a home defeat again last night, they are now sinking perilously close to relegation. And if you lose your place in the Premier League in this country, it could cost well over £100 million.
Yeah, but what's even more interesting was he was a very successful manager at Brentford.
Yes.
And Spurs took him from Brentford, thinking, great, you know, we can push on. In Brentford, they are chuckling along Brentford High Street.
Of course they are.
So would it be unprecedented for Tottenham to not be in the top
No,
five?
they've been relegated before when it was the first and second division, and then come back and
been relegated in the Premiership.
No,
Right.
no.
And
Exactly.
of course, talking of football,
yes.
Look at this photograph of these two fine figures of men. Where are you, chaps?
Yes, absolutely. We are at Fulham last Saturday, where my team, the mighty Everton, beat his team, Fulham, 2-1.
Because of an own goal by our keeper.
It doesn't matter how they go in, mate, as long as it's at the back of the net.
The Labour Party are quite good at own goals, aren't they, Pansy?
That's a good segue there, Andrew, into
wasn't
the
bad,
actual
was it?
news.
Yeah,
Very good indeed.
Now, Mr. Pound, you bought me a cake.
Indeed. May I say,
at this.
very happy birthday. I appreciate your birthday.
Yesterday, Andrew. That's
Well, when
very
you get to a
sad.
certain age, when you get to a certain age, you don't talk about your
But
birthday.
I have to say, I do hope you enjoy. This is made my friend Pan, who has Pan's Bakery in Greenford Avenue in Hanwell. He's from Nepal, and he's a real success story. He makes these fabulous cakes.
Well, that is a very impressive cake. I've never had a cake that big.
Haven't you?
No.
Yeah, I find this slightly awkward because I'm the one who went to the minor public school.
Yeah.
We're supposed to take apples to teachers, you know, not the guy from the comprehensive, you know, claims to be man of the people, trying to bribe the bosses, eh?
Yeah.
Listen, mate, it takes a bit more than a cake.
And we love the fact GB News logo on there.
Do you like it? Yes.
They do. It's
Brilliant.
fabulous.
Shall we talk about the news, just for a change?
Yes, and then we will have some cake.
And then we will have some cake.
The only Labour cups I'll ever approve of.
So, Stephen Pound, how long has your leader got?
3 years.
Really, you think that?
Of course. There's no mechanism in the Labour Party for defenestrating. The only possible way that he could stop being Prime Minister and stop being leader of the Labour Party is if he decides he's had enough. We don't have a 1922 committee, we don't have the men in the grey suits or even the grey boiler suits in our case. We don't have that mechanism. So,
well, no, if 81 Labour MPs get behind a candidate, that's 20% of the parliamentary party, that would trigger a contest. And I think there's at least 180.
Just take June 2016. Jeremy Corbyn's the leader of the Labour Party. There was a vote of no confidence in the Parliamentary Labour Party. Jess Phillips and I were the tellers on that day. 172 members, Labour MPs, voted against Jeremy Corbyn, 40 voted for him. Did it make a difference? Not one whit.
But look, can I just draw your attention to this? This is the front page of The Guardian. Now, this is the most in paper of the Labour Party. Pippa Crerar, who's the political editor, her name is on this story. She's got some very inside information here. That's a very, very bold headline. Streeting still intent on deposing PM despite United Front.
Say anonymous allies. They cannot stand it up. There's no proof to that whatsoever.
Well, Stephen, you know politics better than I do. Where there is smoke, there is fire, and somebody is clearly making mischief in the background.
Well, somebody's blowing smoke.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Look, who on earth would want to lead the Labour Party today? Don't forget that question.
You know that they will want to be Prime Minister, but you know, actually, Wes Streeting, an act of gross disloyalty this week, publishing this email designed to show he's not in thrall to Lord Manson, one of which said there's absolutely no strategy to go. He demolished the government's entire economic programme.
Well,
and that was disloyal.
He mocked it. He mocked the government in being incapable of doing the one thing they said they were going to do. And in all of this, by the way, the name Rachel Reeves hasn't surfaced once as a potential leadership candidate. Can you imagine that? In all other political parties, when the boss is struggling, the Chancellor rises to the top. She's sinking fast.
John Major, but I think in many ways...
Of course, he's right. John Major was Chancellor of the Exchequer when he replaced Mrs Thatcher.
I know he did, but the thing is that the Metropolitan Police aren't best pleased because the fact that all these leaked emails should have actually been run past them first. But as you know, he's part of this supper, oddly enough, with my cousin Matt Pound, there's a whole little group of them used to meet regularly down in South London, in Lord, who is it, Liddell's place?
Yes, in Kennington. The Sunday Supper Club.
That's I knew you'd know that. Which was slightly... But
Anderson went, Streeting went, and so did Morgan McSween.
The reality is, look, there's one thing you can't change, and that is the progress of time. You cannot stop the calendar. We've got a by-election coming up on the 26th of February in Denton and Gorton. We've got the council elections coming up in the first week of May. Nothing is going to happen until after then. Nothing.
Well, you say that, Stephen. I want to ring alarm bells again. Starmer may be a poor PM.
I'll put 50 quid on.
Hang on, but it could be far worse. This feature has appeared in 5 different national newspapers today. You know, be careful what you wish for.
Miriam and I have been saying this for quite a while.
Yeah.
Because we've got Miliband today, and we've got Andy Burnham saying to the Starmer... Shift left.
We've got Rayner hovering around in the background.
The very wise words. Keep a hold of nurse for fear of finding something worse.
Well, I think you're right, but it is going to be much worse because Wes Streeting is supposed to be the voice of common sense, isn't he? You see, people keep saying, "Oh, they're soft left." I think this is a very left-wing government already. I will have nightmares if they suddenly say, "I tell you what I'm going to do. Ed Miliband's coming in, and we're going to shift left."
I'll tell you what is interesting. People are talking about somebody that I should imagine probably 1% of your audience have even heard of, a man called Al Khan's, who's
an Afghan hero.
Well, and is a former special, a colonel. And don't forget, Stephen McCabe, who was the Labour MP for Selly Oak, was offered a seat in the House of Lords to give up his constituency for Al Khan's.
But he's been an MP for a year.
But it's amazing. But the point I'm saying is...
This is showing, Stephen, people... And it's happened in the Conservative Party as well. They're clutching at straws. Because, I mean, Al Khan seems a fantastic MP and obviously a hero. I interviewed him for Jubes & Co show the other week. He was absolutely superb, I don't doubt that. But you shouldn't be looking to somebody with 1 year of parliamentary... To be fair, that's the problem that Keir Starmer's got. He's only been in there since 2015.
Well, most of his backbench MPs have only been there 18 months. That's the problem. They don't know how to run a government.
The counter-argument... There's 2 counter-arguments. One is that Al Khan doesn't bring any baggage with him. And the second thing...
But he also has no experience
he's got experience of leadership.
But he's never run a department. He's never run a boss.
And if you think, when Thatcher became leader of the Conservative Party in 75, she'd been an MP for 20 years.
And she'd been Education Secretary.
Exactly.
And then she was leader of the opposition for 4 years.
And she'd been taking our milk away.
Good, I'm glad. It's when he had to drink it.
This was also Rishi Sunak's problem. He'd only been an MP for a few years.
Not enough experience.
Not enough experience. How Parliament works, how to keep your backbench...
I totally agree. Al Cairns wouldn't know his way from the Strangers Bar to any other bar in that building, would he? No, I can't tell he can do it.
Is that the case against or the case for?
Blair may not have been a minister before, but he'd been an MP for 14 years.
And he was at the head of a tidal wave of popular support, which Labour haven't got at the moment.
Every other walk of life, in every other profession, we know that experience is absolutely crucial to success. You know, a doctor that's been practising for 30 years is a heck of a lot better than a doctor who's been practising. Of course, why don't we apply that to politics?
It hasn't worked in the case of Tottenham Hotspur, has it?
Back to football.
But isn't it interesting? Everything that Keir Starmer's done in his life, he succeeded at. He was a national musician in the National Youth Orchestra. You know, he was a very good KC.
I think he was a hopeless director of public prosecutions, if you don't mind me saying.
He's got you know, marvellous wife, kids. He was very good in Northern Ireland. Everything in life he succeeded at. This is the first time in his life he's actually run up against a...
But if you...
Can we just think of the psychology of that for a minute?
Yeah, but hang on. If you go around offering your services for free to try and prosecute British soldiers, do you say that is a success or a failure?
He also said to MPs in that private meeting, which was briefed to everybody who was outside, the press, that he's never lost a fight. What political fight has he won since he's been Prime Minister? He's given into his back
15 times.
15
times.
Andrew, you are Wikipedia in a well-cut suit. You will remember what Peter Mandelson said at the Hartlepool by-election. Remember, I'm a fighter, not a quitter.
That's right.
Do you remember him saying
And then quit.
And then he quit.
And then
Exactly.
We do know, though, Andrew, that Wikipedia is not particularly reliable because on your page, your birthday was not written down as the 10th of February.
No, it isn't. It's incorrect.
Have you changed it?
No, I haven't. I wouldn't know how to change it, as you know.
True,
I'm not very...
And
actually, last year on this programme, they brought, when Bev was here, they brought in the cake. Didn't even have the right month.
What you can say, Andrew, is you're a lot younger than it says on Wikipedia.
Oh, well, that's pretty obvious.
Isn't the other issue we've got to worry about, because Mr Pound pointed this out from a newspaper headline this morning, the bond markets will go mad with the turmoil inside the Labour Party, and if it goes more left, then we are going to be paying a lot more for the money we borrow than we ever did under Liz Truss.
And remember Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Greater Manchester, the most popular Labour MP with the Labour Party. Remember, don't spook the bonds. He doesn't care about the bond market.
Oh, he said ignore the bond market. He said, I'm not going to be held in
It's
hock.
like a sailor saying, I'm going to ignore the sea.
Well, we are not going to ignore our editors and directors, so we're going to move... He does. We're going to move on. We'll have you chats back in an hour. Thank you very much. But first...
Thank you very much for the cake, which we will share with the GB News gallery, but not all.
Oh, the cuts start here.
Look at that.
Thank you very much. The top stories. Police will continue to question a 13-year-old boy on suspicion of attempted murder today as counter-terrorism officers lead an investigation into a double stabbing at a school in northwest London. 9 people have been killed, including the suspect, and 25 injured. 10 people, have been killed, including the suspect, and 25 injured in shootings at a school and home in British Columbia in Western Canada. 6 victims were found dead inside Tumbler Ridge Secondary School, while a 7th person died on the way to hospital. Officials saying the suspect's body was also found at the school with that self-inflicted injury. President Donald Trump will be hosting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House today as tensions continue to rise across the Middle East and negotiations intensify over curbing Iran's nuclear weapons program. And reports of antisemitism incidents in the UK spiked after the deadly Manchester synagogue attack last year. The volunteer-run Community Security Trust says 40 incidents were recorded on the day of the attack, 40 the day after, the highest daily totals of 2025. And Tottenham Hotspur have sacked their manager. I'll have more on that story at 11 o'clock.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Imagine if they did that to him. Up next, Bobby's on the beat. Miriam caught the activating the cake, answering the phone, and local neighbourhood policing find out why Humberside are the best performing police forces in Britain, and we all should give them our support. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Grimsby.
Hello, a very good morning to you and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office. Changes to the weather are on their way, but for today at least, more wet weather is expected widely across the UK, with a colder feel across Scotland and much of the rain over hills turning to snow before the day is out. But it's a wet picture for virtually the whole of the UK, aside from the far north and northwest of Scotland and the south of England, and where there will be some drier and brighter weather at times, albeit still with some showers here and there. As you can see, a lot of rain elsewhere. Persistent spells of wet weather continuing across eastern Scotland could cause some issues given the saturated nature of things. But by the end of the day, actually, as the cold air begins to arrive above 300-400 metres, we're talking about snow over the Grampians, and that will come down even lower on Wednesday night into the start of Thursday. So cold end to the day for Scotland, feeling cold in the wind as well for northern England into Northern Ireland, but further south we're in the milder air and actually some cloud breaks as we go into Wednesday evening for South Wales into parts of the central and southern part of England, but some rain will skirt the far south and southeast, clearing away into the near continent. Meanwhile, Thursday and the early hours brings a lot more rain once again to Northern Ireland, parts of northern England, especially the northeast, as well as eastern Scotland. Showery rain elsewhere, a lot of cloud cover, so generally a mild start in the south on Thursday, but a colder feel for Scotland, for northern and eastern England, with a biting easterly wind starting to arrive. And that means there'll be some sleet and snow showers for the north and east of Scotland, increasingly so through Thursday. Rain rather than snow through Northern Ireland into much of northern England, parts of Wales and the Midlands. In the southwest, it's brighter for a time, further showers to Cornwall by the end of the afternoon. And then during Friday and the weekend, it turns colder, but also a little drier.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the A90 northbound at Inveraldy, traffic is restricted after a road incident. In Durham, the A66 eastbound between the A685 and the A1M is down to one lane due to a broken-down vehicle, with delays easing after 11:10 this morning. On the M53 northbound between Junction 2 and Junction 1, road management means one lane is closed until around 11:11 this morning. And on the trains, East Midlands Railway and Thameslink report major disruption between London St Pancras International and Luton Airport Parkway. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's 10:37. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom.
So let's all cheer Humberside Police, who've become the best performing force in England and Wales for catching and prosecuting the dreaded shoplifter.
Well, 31% of shop thefts in the area result in a charge, compared with a charge rate of just 7% with the Metropolitan Police in London.
GB News Yorkshire and Humber reporter Anna Riley has this fascinating report.
Bobby's on the beat in a bid to stop shoplifters. Humberside Police are the best performing force at reducing shop theft. The crime costs UK retailers billions of pounds, and it's on the rise. But in this region, Humberside Police are excelling.
We've seen overall crime across Humberside, which covers North Links, North East Links, Hull and East Riding. Crime across all of that area has come down about 3.7% in the last quarter, and that's the 7th consecutive reporting period where it's come down. We're able to answer 999 calls in 3 seconds, 101 calls in 7 seconds. Everybody that needs us, we get there as quickly as we possibly can. And that sets us up for success to start with. So whether it's shoplifting or violent crime, we pick up, we get there as quickly as we can, and then we try and do the best possible job when we're there. We need to support all of the economy across Humberside. There are little shops and corners that, you know, are literally trying to make ends meet day in, day out, and just any theft has a real impact on them. And then there are major retail outlets that are massive employers as well, and they need to sustain that as well. So we take shoplifting serious, whoever it is and whatever the value of the goods are.
In Cleethorpes, police have worked closely with the one-stop convenience store to catch prolific shoplifters.
In One Stop has been quite a high over the last year number of shop thefts. We're in here regularly supporting the store. We are constantly engaging with them, checking CCTV of shoplifters we're getting so we can proactively identify them.
When I first came to this ward, there was in their high 70s for shop thefts. Last month we've got it down to 11.
The force's successful crackdown on shoplifting is linked to investigating every crime. There's no theft too small, and officers aim to get to stores within 15 minutes.
We will deal with retail crime, whatever the number is. Yeah, there's different ways we can deal with it, but you'll always get that response to that theft allegation. Across the country, you'll see that drugs are clearly an issue in terms of why people decide to steal from shops. It's not just a policing issue. We're talking about a multiple range of partners that are required, and it's not an overnight fix. Clearly, people are deeply embedded in a drug-taking culture. We need to try and break that cycle.
With a raft of measures to uphold the law, the police message here is that crime doesn't pay. Anna Riley, GB News.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah,
and congratulations to them. More, and Metropolitan Police, take note.
Yes, 7% versus 31%. That's
Amazing.
quite a difference. Well, the founder of Fair Cop and former police officer Harry Miller joins us now. Harry, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. What do you make of Humberside's police success? Do you think that can be repeated across the country?
Well, one would hope so. I mean, the problem has been since the Home Secretary, Conservative Home Secretary, some years ago announced that shoplifting wasn't important if the goods stolen were less than 200 quid. Most chief constables across the country have seen shoplifting simply as an alternative means of getting your daily shopping, which is utterly outrageous and particularly disturbing if you're a shopkeeper. Now, thank God there has been this outbreak of common sense in Humberside. Would that it were contagious. You know, I criticise Chief Constables an awful lot, but big up to Chief Constable Chris Todd. He gets it. He absolutely gets it. He knows not only that shoplifting has a massive impact on the economy, over 3 billion in actual fact per year, but it has a devastating effect on the local community, particularly if you're a shopkeeper. And when he says we treat all crime the same, we don't distinguish between violent crime and shoplifting, we are on it as police officers. That's what we want to hear as members of the public. And I don't think that it is any coincidence whatsoever that this increase in focusing on shoplifting, low-level crime, coincides with a 3% decrease in crime overall in Humberside. I think that's incredibly important. It's basically the broken window policy that was so successful in New York. If you send out a very clear message that there is no crime too small that we, the police, are not going to be on your back about, then it discourages these career criminals from escalating their behaviour from a little bit of shoplifting to a little bit of armed robbery to a little bit of what have you. So I think this has got to be the model that the rest of the country follows. As I say, whatever it is that this Chief Constable has got, let's hope it's contagious. Because in nearby, for instance, West Yorkshire, Leeds is the shoplifting capital of the country. Well, that's partly because they don't focus on shoplifting. They spend over £1 million a year on diversity training. They employ, I think, around about a dozen officers on that. I put an FOI request into them a few weeks ago and said, over the past 3 years, how many of these 12 or 13 officers that are costing £1 million, how many arrests have they made? And it came back, none. It's not their job to arrest people. Well, it is. The fundamental job of a police officer is not to promote DEI. It's to get out and feel the collars of petty criminals, low-level criminals, and stop this escalating into bigger criminality.
And Harry, here's an opportunity here. The Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, could she not say to other Chief Constables, I know it's an operational decision for Chief Constables what they prioritise, but could she not say, this is now the role model. This is the role for all police forces, and I want similar results.
Absolutely. I think the Home Secretary needs to be pushing this. I think the College of Policing needs to be pushing this, and the National Police Chief Council needs to be pushing this. As I said, we cannot underestimate the effect of that 3% decrease in overall crime. If you go at the shoplifters, if you go at the petty criminals, if you treat crime as crime and don't differentiate, it has an impact on the much more serious crimes. So if there's a model that works, surely the sensible thing to do is to copy it, duplicate it across the country. Let the Met, let West Yorkshire, let all of these Chief Constables follow this fantastic example that Chief Constable Chris Todd has set. I think it's wonderful news.
So do I.
Harry Miller, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, that's very good news story.
Make him the new...
It's possible.
Yeah, and the Met is our biggest police force in the country, and just 7% of shoplifting convictions
It's a
compared to
free-for-all.
31%. Yeah, they know they can get away with it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'm glad there's some hope for it to be solved.
Yeah.
Well, still ahead, Sir Keir Starmer has declared himself working class. Soon he'll be facing a huge showdown with Kemi Badenoch at Prime Minister's Questions.
First, so if you're looking for some elusive holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of those top European destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Still plenty of unsettled weather throughout the Mediterranean, particularly windy in Corsica, Sardinia, Sicily, and it's going to be a wet one for parts of France as well as Greece. But finally, for much of Iberia at the moment, it is drier and sunnier compared with recent weather, aside from the far south of Spain and Gibraltar. Here, we've got a lot of unsettled weather moving through Corsica, Sardinia, Sicily, parts of Italy, some heavy rain. That pushes into Croatia and Greece next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's 11 minutes to 11. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Prince of Wales is ending the most important foreign visit of his public career. It's in Saudi Arabia.
Well, our GB News reporter Jack Carson has been there. He joins us now. Jack, how has the visit gone for Prince William?
Well, I think it has been largely very, very successful. Speaking to people yesterday when he was out and about on his visits on different engagements, people here really feel it is a huge honour to have the Prince of Wales visit them. Of course, His Majesty King Charles visited when he was Prince of Wales back in the 2010s. But for the Prince of Wales, you're right to say that this is one of his biggest engagements yet, coming with a lot of importance, of course, both for himself personally as he looks to forge his future monarchy, as well as, of course, for His Majesty's government, who are looking for more investment both into Saudi Arabia and out of it as well. On engagements this morning, he went to Al Ula, which is where we are now, this 7,000-year-old archaeological area here. We're at where one of his engagements later today is going to be, but he took a tour of a nature reserve, speaking to park rangers there about conservation. It's been a busy 3 days of engagements, and we've been following him around. Prince William hits the back of the net in an historic women's football engagement in Saudi Arabia. But for the next in line to the throne, the only goal here in the Gulf is deepening ties for decades to come. The Prince showing off his skills on the football pitch highlights the rapid improvement in women's rights here, with thousands of girls across the Arab state taking part in regional football sessions like this one. The revelations about the former Prince Andrew's connection with Jeffrey Epstein have proved a major headache for the royal family. On Monday, the King and William issued statements expressing concern for the victims of the growing scandal. As he left the football pitch, His Royal Highness faced the inevitable questions from the broadcast media. Sir, to what extent do you think the royal family has done enough around the Andrew and Epstein issue? Aides to William stressed he had a job to do, and he was getting on and doing it. Please welcome to the stage His Royal Highness, the Prince of Wales. From the physical to the virtual, esports are thriving in Saudi Arabia, with the country hosting the industry's annual World Cup. Receiving a tour of their purpose-built arena, the Prince couldn't help but have a go at one of the sport's most popular games, Rocket League. He didn't manage to win, but the taking part is what counts. The Sports Boulevard in Riyadh has turned what was an urban wasteland into a thriving community hub, with more than 3 million people using the facilities every year. Prince William experienced Saudi Arabia's commitment to sustainable regeneration firsthand. The Prince took his time to look around and speak to people, including structural engineer student Rosiz Alagil.
He seems really nice. I feel like we'll have a great experience with him. Tell him a little bit about how us Saudi students are, really utilising the Sports Boulevard and how everything has really changed for the better, especially for women and for us students.
This is a strategically important trip for the government and the Prince personally, as he takes his next steps on the international stage. Jack Carson, GB News, Saudi Arabia. As you can see and hear there, it's been such a busy few days of engagements, focusing not only, of course, on the objectives of His Majesty's government of wanting to bring investment into the UK from the likes of Saudi Arabia, but also for him personally, focusing on some of the projects that he finds most important. And where he'll end his tour of Saudi Arabia today is here in Al Ula, where he'll meet farmers who are looking at how to farm sustainably and keep this rich architectural and rich agricultural area here for years to come.
Jack Carson, thank you very much for that report. It's I think it's pretty hot out there, but suit and tie.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds a successful visit for the Prince.
Yeah, and I have to say, so contrast when I was out there in 98, 99 with Blair, we got no access at all. The press were just not to be seen or heard.
It
is much more open. And interesting to see the Prince William talking to a woman engineer.
Yes, I don't think that would have happened. No, absolutely, it's clearly opened up. They're one of our strongest allies in the Middle East, aren't they? Well, still ahead, we're going to have the latest from Canada, where 10 people, including the killer, have died in one of Canada's worst mass shootings at a secondary school.
Terrible, isn't it? This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News, Britain's favourite morning show.
Here's your weather.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office. Changes to the weather are on their way, but for today at least, more wet weather is expected widely across the UK, with a colder feel across Scotland and much of the rain over hills turning to snow before the day is out. But it's a wet picture for virtually the whole of the UK, aside from the far north and northwest of Scotland and the south of England, and where there will be some drier and brighter weather at times, albeit still with some showers here and there. As you can see, a lot of rain elsewhere. Persistent spells of wet weather continuing across eastern Scotland could cause some issues given the saturated nature of things. But by the end of the day, actually, as the cold air begins to arrive above 300-400 metres, we're talking about snow over the Grampians, and that will come down even lower on Wednesday night into the start of Thursday. So cold end to the day for Scotland, feeling cold in the wind as well for northern England into Northern Ireland, but further south we're in the milder air and actually some cloud breaks as we go into Wednesday evening for South Wales into parts of the central and southern part of England, but some rain will skirt the far south and southeast, clearing away into the near continent. Meanwhile, Thursday and the early hours brings a lot more rain once again to Northern Ireland, parts of northern England, especially the northeast, as well as eastern Scotland. Showery rain elsewhere, a lot of cloud cover, so generally a mild start in the south on Thursday, but a colder feel for Scotland, for northern and eastern England, with a biting easterly wind starting to arrive. And that means there'll be some sleet and snow showers for the north and east of Scotland, increasingly so through Thursday. Rain rather than snow through Northern Ireland into much of northern England, parts of Wales and the Midlands. In the southwest, it's brighter for a time, further showers to Cornwall by the end of the afternoon. And then during Friday and the weekend, it turns colder, but also a little drier.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
We want you to boost your bank account with an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. There's also a terrific £10,000 to spend on a Riviera travel holiday of a lifetime for two. So whether you fancy a cruise or an escorted tour, you'll have over 30 worldwide destinations to choose from.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19, PO Box 8690, Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray, are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
It's 11 o'clock on Wednesday, the 11th of February, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, Keir Starmer is due for a showdown. In 1 hour, the Prime Minister will clash with the Tory leader, Kemi Badenoch, at PMQs. We're asking, has he lost all his authority?
Yes, the coup that never quite was has fizzled away, and Keir Starmer seems safe for now. But plenty of plotters are planning to move either before the May elections or after. Find out more with me very soon.
Horror in the classroom. This morning, counter-terrorism police are continuing to question a 13-year-old boy as 2 young pupils were stabbed at a school in northwest London.
And a school shooting in Canada where 10 have been left dead, including the killer, and 25 injured. It's one of Canada's worst mass shootings at a secondary school. British Columbia Premier David Eby has condemned the attack.
This is a devastating and unimaginable tragedy. We can't imagine what the community is going through, but I know it's causing us all to hug our kids a little bit tighter.
We can confirm that 2 members of our Jewish community have sadly died as a result of this attack.
And shockingly, 4 months on since the terror attack on a Manchester synagogue, today it's revealed anti-Semitic incidents spiked in the immediate aftermath.
And the Birmingham bin misery continues because bin workers have voted to strike for another 6 months as the rubbish has been piling up now for over a year. The union behind the strike will be joining us soon.
We're able to answer 999 calls in 3 seconds, 101 calls in 7 seconds. Everybody that needs us, we get there as quickly as we possibly can.
3 cheers for Humberside Police, the best force in the country for bringing shoplifters to justice.
Andrew, I really like this story about Humberside Police.
So do I.
I think so often at the moment we have this sense that Britain is in decline, it's broken, crime is going unpunished, but a police force that's got their act together, that's decided to do something about this kind of low-level crime that actually really, really impacts communities, good for them.
Yeah, and we need other police forces to follow suit. 31% clear-up rate for shoplifting in Humberside, 7% in the Met. What a difference.
Exactly, it does show it can be done, and that the problem isn't just with the law, although I think that is a problem as well. The individual police forces can take matters in their own hands. Well, good for them. Let's hope that other forces and chief constables are watching.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts on all our talking points today. First, we've got the headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you very much. The top stories. Police will continue to question a 13-year-old boy on suspicion of attempted murder as counter-terrorism officers lead an investigation into a double stabbing at a school in northwest London. Officers were called to Kingsbury High School around 12:40 yesterday afternoon following reports a 13-year-old boy had been stabbed. Police say they were later made aware that a second victim, a 12-year-old boy, had also been stabbed at the scene. Both boys were taken to hospital, with one admitted to a major trauma centre as a priority. Officers said they were both believed to be in a serious condition. A resident says children at the school claimed that the offender was not a pupil at Kingsbury High School. 9 people have been killed and 25 injured in shootings at a school and home in British Columbia in Western Canada. 6 victims were found dead inside Tumbler Ridge Secondary School, while a 7th person died on the way to hospital. Officials say the suspect's body was also found at the school with a self-inflicted injury. 2 more people were found dead inside a residence nearby. Police believe the shootings are linked. Canada's Prime Minister says he's devastated by today's horrific shootings as he suspended a planned trip to Germany. It's being reported that police have released a man hours after they detained him in connection to the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, the mother of US News anchor Savannah Guthrie. Sources say after taking the man into custody, police searched his home in Rio Rico, south of Tucson in Arizona. After his release, the man told reporters outside his home that he did not know Nancy Guthrie or who she was, adding, "I don't follow the news." 84-year-old Guthrie was abducted from her home near Tucson more than a week ago, sparking a widespread search and desperate appeals from her family. Comes after officials released videos and images showing a masked person who they say was armed at her doorstep the night she disappeared. Sir Keir Starmer will face Prime Minister's questions today after fighting back against pressure to quit. It comes after the Prime Minister pledged to never walk away and said he'd lead the Labour Party into the next general election. Sir Keir hit out at infighting within his party and said the political turmoil wouldn't stop him after Scottish Labour leader Anna Sarwar called him to resign. The Prime Minister said his government should be acting together over the release of files on Peter Mandelson after Wes Streeting published his exchanges with the former ambassador. Richard Holden, the Shadow Transport Secretary, spoke to GB News this morning.
We have to get rid of him. We cannot have a situation in which a Prime Minister put a friend of a convicted child sex trafficker into our most important diplomatic position, which is what he did when he appointed Peter Mandelson. And the only reason Labour cabinet ministers are not acting today is they're waiting. They're waiting to try and position for a little bit better for themselves in the future. We know Angela Rayner's still got this HMRC investigation ongoing. Wes Streeting, all of these messages him and Lord Mandelson were exchanging. They want that to go away, and they want Keir Starmer to take the sort of political hit for the local elections and this by-election that's coming up.
Elsewhere, the boss of British Gas says electricity in Britain is on track to cost more in 2030 than it did during the energy crisis triggered by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Chris O'Shea said system costs were expected to push up power prices for the rest of the decade as the government oversees an upgrade of the electricity grid to prepare for net zero. The warning suggests Ed Miliband's pledge to slash energy bills by £300 is dead in the water unless levies on energy bills used to fund grid investment are moved to taxation. Average power bills jumped from £717 a year in 2021 to £1,200 in 2023 after Russia's invasion. The current price cap stands at £1,758 a year for a typical household. The government made affordable energy a key manifesto promise. President Donald Trump is going to be meeting or hosting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House today as tensions continue to rise across the Middle East and negotiations intensify over curbing Iran's nuclear weapons program. Iranian officials have ruled out putting Iran's missiles, one of the largest such arsenals in the Middle East, up for discussion and have said Tehran wants recognition of its right to enrich uranium. Reports of anti-Semitism incidents in the UK spiked after the deadly Manchester synagogue attack last year. The volunteer-run Community Security Trust said 40 incidents were recorded on the day of the attack and 40 the day after. That's the highest daily totals of 2025. Worshippers Melvin Kravitz and Adrian Dolby were killed on the 2nd of October last year when Jihad al-Shami drove into the gates of the Heaton Park Synagogue in Manchester and began attacking with a knife while wearing a fake suicide belt. And in sport, Tottenham boss Thomas Frank has been sacked after just 8 months in charge. The Dane left after Tuesday's 2-1 home defeat to Newcastle. Tottenham sit 16th in the Premier League table, 5 points above the relegation zone. Frank, who was appointed last summer after consistently overperforming as Brentford boss, has the worst Premier League home win percentage of any Spurs manager since 2008. Those are the latest headlines. More in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Here's a snapshot of the markets. The pound will buy you $1.3693 and €1.1492. The price of gold is £3,707 and 96 pence per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 10,379 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Hello, good morning and welcome. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Lots of texts and emails, I think.
Lots of emails are coming in. I had them up just now and they've disappeared. Here we go. So, lots of support for Humberside Police for their amazing success.
Quite right too.
Aaron says, totally agree with the clampdown on shoplifters. They do tend to expand these crimes to burglary, robbery, armed robbery, eventually doing life in prison. I'd like to see all shoplifters with a tag that sets off barriers in retailers. That's an interesting idea.
But also, apart from the impact on shops, this has a direct impact on everybody watching and listening, because it impacts on the price of everything you buy in shops, because if it costs retailers £2 or £3 billion a year, they get the money back somehow.
That's right,
and they
by
have to
raising
pay
prices.
for security guards.
Yeah.
And in tiny little shops now, little Tesco's, little M&S, they have a security guard there.
Yeah.
And you ask them, what do you do if you see someone shoplifting? We can't physically intervene because we're told not to.
And it gives people a really negative sense of where society is at, because it feels like some people are getting away with it.
Yeah.
It erodes that sense that we're all in it together. We all have to face the cost of living crisis, all these kind of things. Some people think, oh, it's not for me, I'll just take what I want and go. Totally unfair. So good on Humberside Police. It'd be great to get some of them on tomorrow.
Yes, come and talk to us, Humberside, please, because we'd really like to talk to you about it, because we think you should be encouraged.
Absolutely. And Dee says, happy birthday, Andrew.
That's nice.
And Susan says, a message to Andrew, happy birthday to you and many happy returns.
Thank you.
And now we know your birthday. Next year, we're going to make a massive fuss. Balloons, party poppers, pass the parcel. I'm sure Pound and Parry would enjoy that. You might be off that day. OK, you're giving us advance notice.
Yes. Now, we've got Prime's questions today, and it's going to be a big old bust-up, not least because next week the Commons is in recess. You might say, what, again? Yes, again. But
don't forget, the Prime Minister has won every fight he's ever had, Andrew.
Every fight he's ever had. That's what he told Labour MPs on Monday. But Kemi Baynott has an open goal this week, doesn't she?
Because he refused to step down, despite lots of people calling for that. He scapegoated Morgan McSweeney for the advice over appointing Peter Mandelson.
And last week she asked him if he had full confidence in his Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney.
True.
He said he did. He then resigned on Sunday. And she also challenged him about a peerage which was given to a man called Matthew Doyle. Matthew Doyle was the third communications director in Number 10. He left last year. He was made a peer on, I think, it was announced on December the 10th he was being made a peer. December the 27th, the Sunday Times reported that Matthew Doyle had campaigned in a local election for a Labour candidate who was then standing as an independent, who had been arrested and charged with possessing indecent images of children on his phone. He was subsequently found guilty of it. Number 10, nevertheless, pressed ahead, and the peerage was gazetted on January the 8th this year. He's been suspended today. Bit late, Prime Minister, and that's another sign that whatever vetting goes on in Number 10, it's not done properly.
Well, of course, there's no reason why the Prime Minister should go. He's got a massive majority in the House of Commons. He won a general election. All Prime Ministers make mistakes, but I suppose the question is, does he have the authority amongst his backbenchers to continue? Well, the former Labour advisor, Stella Sankanidou, joins us now. Stella, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Keir Starmer finds himself in quite a similar position that Boris Johnson did in 2022. There's no real parliamentary reason why he should step down, but still there's this feeling in the air that his time is coming to an end. How do you interpret the last week's events?
What is likely happened is that during the PLP meeting and then during the meetings that happened yesterday with his cabinet members and with staffers at Number 10, there must have been some kind of concessions, some kind of agreement about what is the best path forward. And I think it would be very difficult if Keir Starmer was to resign, say now, before the Gordon Pye election and before the local elections in May. It would be very difficult for whoever was to come next, who is by no means a certainty. It would have been a better scenario if there was a very obvious heir to the throne, like with Gordon Brown, for example, and Tony Blair. But whoever is going to come in next would have to basically take responsibility for Labour's performance, both in Gorton and then in the local elections in May, which is why it is likely you saw people like Angela Rayner, for example, who we know for a fact would like to run for the leadership herself, coming out in support of Keir Starmer and saying that he should remain leader, and then other figures like Lucy Powell, the deputy leader of the party, who we would expect here, if there was a leadership election, and if Keir Starmer were to stand, she would not be supporting him, that's for sure. But she came out in support of him and said, we should stick by him. And I think that stick by him means stick by him for now, just because of the practicalities.
And Stella, can I ask, it feels, maybe I'm misinterpreting what you're saying, that you feel a challenge of some form is inevitable. Do you think the Labour Party, the Labour government, needs a new leader?
Oh, absolutely, yes, I do think. I think that it is inevitable that he will have to leave. I think it is the right thing that he leaves. I don't think he can lead the party in the next election, but also I think that he has really struggled to lead the country in the last few weeks, and he will struggle if he remains. It is impossible for him to remain without allies, without a core team around him. He has lost the faith of his MPs. He has lost the faith of his allies. He is still the same person he was last year and a few years before. He's still a technocrat. He's still someone who is a responsible person who has had very difficult senior positions. So by no means am I saying, oh, we're in a crisis, this is an emergency, he needs to go right now. No, absolutely. He's a perfectly good bureaucrat, but he is not a political leader, and this has shown.
But I suppose one of the problems he has faced is that regardless of his personal political skill or lack thereof, his backbenchers are divided about how the country should move forward. And certainly most economists, for example, would agree that we have to cut our welfare bill. It's massively out of control. This country is getting deeper and deeper into debt. More and more people are making more money by being on welfare than working. And yet the backbenchers will not support any move to tackle that, to reform the welfare bill. Whoever is in the leadership position, whoever is in number 10, they are not going to be able to solve that problem. Aren't you just going to enter another spiral of decline like the Tories did after sacking Boris Johnson?
I really disagree with that. I do think backbenchers, I think everybody in the Labour Party believes the welfare system needs to be reformed. What the problem was with Keir Starmer is that he didn't take the party with him. He didn't explain what he was doing in advance. He didn't consult with the party. And at the end of the day, what he did was crude cuts to the welfare rather than long-term reform. Long-term reform of the welfare system is something very difficult, which any party has struggled to do. What the Labour MPs could not accept was when you have a whole package of reforms, which does not seem in any way to make life better for working class people, you are asking them to basically cut from the poorest in society, which is what most welfare recipients are. And of course, you may say, but there are a lot of people on welfare who shouldn't be working. I agree. A lot of Labour MPs agree with that. But what is the proper way to do that? And shouldn't a leader needs to have the charisma to explain this and take his party with him if he's going to do that. And he didn't do that. If you remember, Liz Kendall, the then work and pension secretary, was forced to make changes the last minute because they felt like there was a gap in Rachel Reeves' budget. That is not the way to bring about controversial changes which will affect vulnerable people.
Really interesting.
Yep.
And that's another key Labour reform advisor who thinks he's got to go.
Yep. Well, Stella Santakidou, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Although I do think she is overestimating the impact of changing leader, because I do think the problem lies with the backbenchers, ultimately.
Well, I mean, they'll get what they want, which is more...
Yeah.
There'll be no reforms to welfare, and I think taxes will rise even higher.
Well, if they get a left-wing leader and a left-wing chancellor, that will spook the markets. We'll have some sort of economic crisis. Mortgages will go up, interest rates will go up, inflation will go up. That will make them less popular.
Absolutely. And of course, I don't think all of the candidates who are potentially running for it are up to the job.
Well, quite possibly. If you want to get away from the cost of living problems and you want a free holiday, we've got just the thing for you. It's our Great British Giveaway, your chance to get summer sorted with a luxury £10,000 holiday for two and £30,000 in tax-free cash. Hayley Sparks has all the details.
You could win cash and the ultimate holiday in our two-part Great British Giveaway. Thanks to Riviera Travel, you could be jetting off on a £10,000 dream holiday for two people. With flights, transfers and luxury accommodation included, you'll get to choose the kind of holiday you want. So whether you're looking for hotel comfort or on a relaxing river cruise, you'll be able to find the perfect match from over 30 global destinations on offer. And because the holiday is handpicked with you in mind, you know it's It's going to be perfect. Plus, we're going to give you £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. Your summer can start here, so make sure you don't miss out.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19, PO Box 8690, Derby, DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. The winner may be contacted live after all entry routes have closed. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, coming up next, Sarah Ferguson is plotting a future without her former husband, Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor, telling her friends that she needs money.
We just don't need her. We'll be going through that and more with Stephen Pound and Mike Parry. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back. 23 minutes past 11. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Got the panel, Mike Parry and Stephen Pound here. Now, before we talk about Sarah Ferguson, Stephen, the Prime Minister, in a clear sign of where we're going now, a shift to the left, he talked about how he leads with pride the most working-class Labour cabinet in history. That is factually, historically incorrect.
Well, it depends, get back to the old question, define your terms. What do you mean by working class?
I'm going to talk about Ramsay MacDonald.
Well, I'm just thinking working class means that you've got a job and not a career.
Well, Ramsay MacDonald was illegitimate. His first job, he was a farm labourer. Jimmy Thomas, who was in the cabinet...
He's a railwayman.
Yeah, and he was son of a Welsh maid. And his first job was when he was 9 years old.
Wow.
And Stephen Walsh was a Lancashire orphan who went down the pit age 13. I think that's more working class than Keir Starmer. Did I tell you my dad's a tool maker?
Jimmy Thomas was the first man. He had a big union meeting, and they said, "You sold us out, Jimmy." He said, "I'm missing. I've tried to sell you out. Nobody would buy you."
I think the current cabinet can no way be called working class because none of them have had a job before they got into politics. None of them had a job before they got into politics. And all those backbenchers, right, I've looked at it, they've either come from charities, they've come from local authorities, or they've come from quangos. They've never had a proper job. They cannot be called working class. What about the Chingford skinhead in Mrs Thatcher's cabinet? That's the sort of... But started as a working class man.
In 1997, there's a huge intake of the Blair babes. And there's a big thing about that, because I'd been a hospital porter for 10 years, I'd been on the buses, and there's another lad...
On the buses with Reg Varney?
No.
He was Blakey. He was the inspector.
Yeah, the one who was always whinging. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, I hate you, Mike. I hate you.
I hate you.
And so they had this thing in the Times about that there's only 2 working class members of the new intake. So Clive Efford, who was a taxi driver, and me.
Who's still an MP.
And Clive, but he used to do his speeches looking over his shoulder like that.
And sorry, when you were working in the hospital scene, what were you, a hospital porter?
Hospital porter, yeah.
Well, so this is not the first time in history the NHS has been in crisis, then?
See ya.
Now, listen, mate, I'll knock them down in the box, you tap them in.
Talking of crisis, Fergie, what's she done now? The Mail found her.
I mean, look...
She's vanished from sight. She's in the UAE, of course.
Yeah, the Mail have got some great contacts inside the royal family politics and all that, and they write a piece today, and the headline is, "I need to get back to work, I need money."
Sorry, back to work?
Yes. No,
when was she in work?
No, what this means, I'll interpret it.
She has written books.
Yeah, I'll interpret it for you.
The helicopter.
Yes,
which was plagiarised.
Exactly. I'll interpret what it means. What it means is I need to get back to scrounging money off very rich people, or trying to screw money out of newspapers by pretending to the newspapers when they send a man round called the fake sheikh that I can introduce the fake sheikh to Prince Andrew if they give me £500,000. And by the way, I read about another scam she was trying to get involved in the other day, and that is writing to Cunard Shipping and saying, for £1 million a year, for £1 million a year, I will go on 4 cruises, £250,000 a time, and you can advertise that I'm on your boat. Guess what they said? No thanks.
Is there any chance of us crowdfunding to send Sarah Ferguson off?
What, permanently? Around the world cruise permanently?
I have to say, Mike never sees a belt without wanting to hit below it, but I think, maybe we're kicking a...
No, we're not. I think her behaviour's...
there's a bit of a pile on here.
I feel very sorry for her daughter.
My worry is that the Epstein files may yet cause difficulties for those young women. Because we know Sarah Ferguson, why she did it.
She took one of them
unbelievably
for lunch with Epstein 5 days after prison. I mean, and that's terrible. But were they? There's all these terrible rumours. Were they ever used as conduits for the Epstein cash, which would be so terrible?
Well, they must have been, because the reason she took them was to add more royal glamour. Because in a way, her daughters were more royal than her, weren't they?
Princesses.
They're princesses, and they're the daughters of Prince Andrew. So they are more royal than she was.
Absolutely.
So she tried to up her royal sort of, glamour by taking her daughter. Most disgraceful thing. I remember years ago, I don't know if you do, when one of the daughters was about 13, I remember doing an interview saying, me and my daughter go out together. We go on the pull, don't we, darling? She was awful as a mother, the way she tried to pile into her children.
Without getting into this working class business, I mean, her father was a major in the army.
Yes, that's
right.
And
he was also, I think, the captain of the Royal Polo.
No, I think he's manager of the Royal Polo team.
But it's a world you know more about than I do, Mike.
Yeah, of course I do,
I thought that was a round...
He availed himself in what they used to call brothels, which don't exist now, I don't think.
Yes.
Remember the News of the World exposed him for being in a brothel?
He was very famous for giving away little bottles of perfume to ladies who used to massage his aching limbs.
Wasn't that when the reporter Neville Thurbeck, do you remember, he said he made an excuse and left?
Yes, Neville Thurbeck was his
Neville
name.
Thurbeck.
Yeah, that's right.
He had a nickname which I cannot say on air.
I can have to tell you this. It's a very true story. When I was a young reporter on the Gloucestershire
couple of weeks
ago, Cheltenham, very young reporter, my first local local paper, there was rumours there was a sex-to-sale sauna in the shadow of Tewkesbury Abbey. The building was owned by the female mayor of Tewkesbury. I was sent along as a reporter.
Hold the front page.
To expose it. And this woman offered me all these sexual services. Of course, I was only 19. I didn't have a clue what any of them were. Any of them were. I made my excuses and left. We got a front-page story about it in the Gloucestershire Echo. It was the biggest increase in sales in the Gloucestershire Echo.
It would be.
Sales in Tewkesbury.
Do you know who I exposed? Cynthia Payne.
Oh, God!
Absolutely. I got round to her house, knocked on the door, and it was full of judges and MPs.
They paid by lunch. They paid by
lunch vouchers. It was the luncheon vouchers.
That's insane.
I know. I remember.
Anyway,
they renamed Streatham St Reetham.
Yes, that's right.
There was a whole film about
it. Was, absolutely. Yeah,
Sugar Mother said she wouldn't even vote Labour.
Sorry to break up this party, but it's time for a break. Don't forget, it's Prime Minister's
That was my
time.
first big scoop. Got nicked by the Daily Mail, which quoted me as a customer.
I was about to say, you've been waiting for your next big scoop ever since.
They quoted me as a customer of the sauna, the Daily Mail, which I now work for. I was not happy.
Oh, Andrew. Anyway, we're going to see Tom and Gloria soon. Let us know what you want to ask the Prime Minister. gbnews.com/you'll say. You're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News. Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update brought to you from the Met Office. Another wet day for many of us to come. There will be some drier weather, though, particularly across southern areas and across the far northwest. Things will be turning chillier as we head towards the end of the week, though, as this area of low pressure slowly pivots around and that will sink to the south, allowing northerly winds to move in. So there's an increasing risk of snow as we head through the latter part of this week. But for today, plenty more rain, particularly across many northern areas. We do have a rain warning for parts of eastern as well as southwestern Scotland, where we could see 40 millimetres accumulating through the day, bringing some travel disruption. Further south, some brighter spells through this afternoon. It's still relatively mild for the time of year down here as well, but that will change as we head towards the end of this week. Now, across many southern areas, after a break in the rain, the next batch of wet weather will push in through this evening, affecting many southwestern areas of England and then further north overnight. Across much of Scotland, Northern Ireland and some parts of northern England as well, some fairly persistent drizzly rain will linger through this evening. The rain will turn to snow above around 300 to 400 metres, particularly across parts of Aberdeenshire and Perthshire. And throughout this evening, very little change in the way of rain for many northern areas. This batch of rain across the south, though, pushes into more southeastern areas. It will clear through the early hours of Thursday morning, and there will be some dry weather, but a lot of cloud around overnight tonight. Quite a murky night to come wherever you are. And those northerly winds are pushing in across the far north. So you see temperatures falling away down to around -3 across some parts of Scotland. Quite a brisk wind, though, so that's going to keep temperatures up a little bit. But a cold feel to come tomorrow for many north and eastern areas of the UK. Now, the rain won't be quite as heavy on Thursday. Actually, some far northern areas of Scotland will see some dry and sunny weather. And across the far southwest, we're still holding on to that milder air, and there will be some breaks in the rain. Bye-bye.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Coming up next, Unite the Union are joining us to justify their decision to extend the Birmingham bin strike for another 6 months.
But first, we're going to get some headlines from Tatiana Sanchez.
Andrew, thank you. The top stories. Police will continue to question a 13-year-old boy on suspicion of attempted murder as counter-terrorism officers lead an investigation into a double stabbing at a school in northwest London. 9 people have been killed and 25 injured in shootings at a school and home in British Columbia in Western Canada. 6 victims were found dead inside Tumbler Ridge Secondary School, while a 7th person died on the way to hospital. Officials say the suspect's body was also found at the school with a self-inflicted injury. US President Donald Trump will host Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House today as tensions continue to rise across the Middle East and negotiations intensify over curbing Iran's nuclear weapons program. And reports of anti-Semitism incidents in the UK spiked after the deadly Manchester synagogue attack last year. The volunteer-run Community Security Trust says 40 incidents were recorded on the day of the attack and 40 the day after, the highest daily totals of 2025. Those are the latest headlines. More news from me at 1 o'clock.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Well, it's 25 minutes to 12. You're with Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Andrew and Miriam.
Well, it started as a string of one-day strikes. It's now been going on for a full year, and now the members of the Unite Union have voted to extend that bin strike in Birmingham, our second city, till September.
Well, the local authority has slammed this as a disappointing decision, and the Unite National Lead Officer for Birmingham, One Kassab, joins us now. Mr Kassab, thank you so much for joining us this morning on the programme. Can you just remind our viewers and listeners what was the initial cause of these strikes in the first place?
The cause of the strikes are pay cuts. This is not about people asking for more money. Both loaders and drivers face huge cuts in their pay. The council initially tried to portray this as about a small number of people, but we were quickly able to expose that this impacts every single driver on the refuse service across Birmingham City Council. We are talking about pay cuts of up to £8,000 a year.
Now, just remind us, Mr Kassab, what the average bin worker earns and who is going to lose this £8,000 a year?
Well, the amounts varied, but a refuse driver, for instance, at the top of the grade, they can earn just above £40,000. That will go down to £32,000. And our members working as loaders, their pay will go down to around £25,000 a year.
And are there negotiations ongoing with the council?
There are no negotiations taking place. There are no talks, let alone any proposals or any offers from the council. And that's really one of the reasons, or just one of the reasons, why our members have voted again to extend our mandate. 100% of those who took part in the ballot have voted for further strike action. And that also includes the agency staff as well. The agency staff who were brought in to break the strike by the council have also voted by 100% to extend the strike action. Look, the resolution is really simple, and this isn't about the union trying to extend something unnecessarily. We are having to reballot our members because we want to ask our members constantly what they think. We're a democratic trade union. But we've had to do this because the council have still not given us a date to sit down and talk and reach a resolution.
Now, Mr Kassab, I'm sure our viewers and listeners will be wondering how your members are making ends meet. They've been out of work for such a long time. Is the union supporting them and their families financially?
You make an excellent point. And we pay our members strike pay of £70 a day. That, of course, doesn't make up the take-home pay and what they are losing. But our members have gone through tremendous hardship. I think it's perhaps worth remembering, and sometimes it's forgotten amongst all the speeches at the rallies and everything else, as well as facing the threat of losing that amount of money and the stress that comes from being on strike. These people are also having to deal with the everyday slings and arrows and tribulations of life as well that they are having to deal with. So they have my tremendous respect for making the stand that they have done. But I think it's also worth adding, they've done it because they've had to do it. Nobody, no working person should face a pay cut of up to £8,000 a year.
Can I just ask you politically here, Mr Kassab? Unite has been close to the Labour Party over the years. It's given millions of pounds to the Labour Party over the years. You've got a Labour-run council. It's a Labour-run government. Why is there no big figure from perhaps the Labour government come down to Birmingham and knock heads together to get this fixed?
A good point. You know, Angela Rayner did come to Birmingham and infuriated our members by not going to the picket line, and instead what she did is she went to meet the agency staff who've been brought in to break the strike. What we've had from a number of Labour figures is telling our members to accept offers on the table that don't exist. So it is poor that hasn't happened, and it's not lost on our members that we've got a Labour council under a Labour government doing this to our members. It is not uncommon now to have that conversation on the picket lines. Why are we still affiliated to a party that's attacking our members? Now, we've got clear rules and policies around that, but this is what our members are telling us. Why are we still affiliated to a party that attacks working people?
And what about the local ratepayers in Birmingham? Because whilst many people may have sympathy for you and your members and your drivers, of course, the people of Birmingham are having to face this ongoing difficulty of not having their bins collected, of living amongst rubbish, potentially with the public health concerns, and they're still paying their council tax. Are you losing support among the public as time goes on?
Well, your assessment is correct in that people are extremely fed up with the situation. But people are not blaming the refuse workers, because once the truth gets out there about the shambolic way in which the council's handled this, look, don't forget, initially they said that there would be something like a £750 million liability that they were facing around legal claims that they had. That went down to around 250 million. We now know that the council, in its own figures, in its own reports, is spending in excess of £30 million to try and break the strike. It would have cost a fraction of that to resolve the dispute, and that's coming from council taxpayers' money. And I think people can see that, can see what's happening, and they can see where the fault lies. You know, I don't want to sound childish about they started it, it's their fault, but we've got to lay the blame where it lies. This is a shambolic authority that could resolve this dispute a long time ago for a fraction of the cost that they are now paying out.
It's a national embarrassment, frankly. It's the second city. It's the largest local authority in Europe. This strike's gone on for over a year. The council's bankrupt. What are you going to recommend? I mean, will Unite get involved in the local elections in Birmingham in May? I suspect you'll struggle to vote Labour probably for the first time in your life.
Well, we're laser focused on winning this dispute for our members. We're laser focused on winning a fair deal. As far as the wider politics are concerned, for me, it's about policies rather than individuals and parties. That's what I'm focused on, and that's what our members are focused on as well, I think. As far as the Labour Party are concerned, it's no secret. The way that they have responded, the way they've acted, has simply sown the seeds for other parties. They have sown the seeds for the likes of Reform to look at what's going on in Birmingham. So it's a fault of the Labour Party's own making. We didn't have to be in this position. And look, we're not going to take any responsibility for what happens to the Labour Party and their futures. That lies squarely with them. Any party, any organisation that attacks workers' pay in this way, and at the start you rightly asked me about how much people are paid, any organisation that attacks public service workers that are paid those types of wages to start with and then wants to cut that type of level from their pay doesn't deserve support.
Well, Mr. Kassab, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
He's the National Lead Officer in Birmingham for Unite. Now, Councillor Majid Mahmood, he's the Labour Cabinet member responsible for Waste Services, said we have invited Unite on multiple occasions to make its proposal to end the strike, which we would fully and carefully consider, but they've declined to do thus far. They've also rejected our fair and reasonable offers. They're just completely at odds, aren't they?
It's a stalemate, isn't it?
Completely. And it's who loses out here.
But an interesting point that the council spent more on agency workers than it would have cost to raise the pay to what they had originally.
It makes no sense, does it? It's madness.
Well, coming up next, the self-proclaimed working-class Prime Minister. He's gearing up for a showdown with the Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, in the House of Commons.
Here's, though, is that holiday sun, where to go if you're looking for sun.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Still plenty of unsettled weather throughout the Mediterranean, particularly windy in Corsica, Sardinia, Sicily, and it's going to be a wet one for parts of France as well as Greece. But finally, for much of Iberia at the moment, it is drier and sunnier compared with recent weather, aside from the far south of Spain and Gibraltar. Here, we've got a lot of unsettled weather moving through Corsica, Sardinia, Sicily, parts of Italy, some heavy rain. That pushes into Croatia and Greece next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back. Well, the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, is about to take on Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch at Prime Minister's Question Time. That's going to start in about 10 minutes.
She take on him if she's doing her job properly.
Well, it's certainly going to be fiery there today. And Olivia Utley, our political correspondent, is here with us in the studio. I assume Kemi Badenoch is going to go on Sir Keir Starmer's weakness rather than any particular political topic today.
Well, if I was her, that's definitely what I would do. She put in a very good performance, actually, I thought, at the dispatch box last week against Keir Starmer and really pinned him down on when exactly he knew about what Mandelson had done, exactly the timeline of it. And that brought about this almost coup on Monday when it really looked as though Labour MPs were going to move against Keir Starmer. And apparently there were junior ministers, there were PPSs all lined up, ready to support one of those other candidates who'd been waiting in the wings to take on the leadership. But it didn't quite happen. We don't quite know why, but it looks as though none of the front-runners for the leadership, so Wes Streeting, Ed Miliband or Angela Rayner, is actually quite ready. Angela Rayner is obviously still having her tax affairs investigated. Wes Streeting is implicated in the Mandelson saga himself. He's actually much closer personally to Mandelson than Keir Starmer ever was. And then you've got Ed Miliband, who's popular with the membership at large but not popular with the parliamentary party. So the coup sort of fizzled away, and for now Starmer is looking quite safe. But I'll be fascinated to see what line Kemi Badenoch takes. Her aides are thrilled with her performance recently, and what the whips have been doing as well in pinning Labour down with that humble address. It's a good performance from the Conservatives at the moment. No one's really watching what they're doing.
And she's got an extra arrow to her bow, hasn't she, today, with this extraordinary revelation about a man called Matthew Doyle, who was his communications secretary in Number 10. He's fired. Yes, another one fired, because if you've got nothing to communicate, you can't do your job properly. And Starmer makes him appear on December the 10th, that's announced. December the 27th, the Sunday Times reports that Matthew Doyle had campaigned for a friend in an election, local election, knowing that this man had been charged with having indecent material on his phone. He accepted his protestations of innocence. He was then convicted. Number 10 were told about this, but they carried on with the peerage, which was gazetted 2 or 3 weeks later. It's another sign that the vetting is no good at Number 10, but also how tone-deaf the Prime Minister is, Olivia. That will infuriate the female MP contingent, particularly. All about that boys' club at Number 10.
Well, absolutely. And Matthew Doyle actually also had some contact with Sean Gorton, I think his name is.
Yes.
The councillor who's been convicted of child sex offences. He had some contact with him after he'd been found guilty. He says that he saw him at 2 occasions, spoke to him in public and then checked up on his welfare. Really, really poor judgment from Matthew Doyle, of course. But then, as you say, very poor judgment as well from Keir Starmer for pushing ahead with this peerage. Completely unnecessary as well. There's no need to give Matthew Doyle a peerage. And again, speaks of poor political judgment.
Absolutely.
Well, stick with us, because after the break, we'll be very shortly going back to Prime Minister's Question Time. You're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Yeah, what we need.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office. Changes to the weather are on their way, but for today at least, more wet weather is expected widely across the UK, with a colder feel across Scotland and much of the rain over hills turning to snow before the day is out. But it's a wet picture for virtually the whole of the UK, aside from the far north and northwest of Scotland and the south of England, where there will be some drier and brighter weather at times, albeit still with some showers here and there. As you can see, a lot of rain elsewhere. Persistent spells of wet weather continuing across eastern Scotland could cause some issues given the saturated nature of things. But by the end of the day, actually, as the cold air begins to arrive above 300-400 metres, we're talking about snow over the Grampians, and that will come down even lower on Wednesday night into the start of Thursday. So a cold day for Scotland, feeling cold in the wind as well for northern England into Northern Ireland, but further south we're in the milder air and actually some cloud breaks as we go into Wednesday evening for South Wales into parts of the central and southern part of England, but some rain will skirt the far south and southeast, clearing away into the near continent. Meanwhile, Thursday and the early hours brings a lot more rain once again to Northern Ireland, parts of Northern England, especially the northeast, as well as eastern Scotland. Showery rain elsewhere, a lot of cloud cover, so generally a mild start in the south on Thursday, but a colder feel for Scotland, for northern and eastern England, with a biting easterly wind starting to arrive. And that means there'll be some sleet and snow showers for the north and east of Scotland, increasingly so through Thursday. Rain rather than snow through Northern Ireland into much of northern England, parts of Wales and the Midlands. In the southwest, it's brighter for a time, further showers to Cornwall by the end of the afternoon. And then during Friday and the weekend, it turns colder, but also a little drier.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
You could win cash and the ultimate holiday in our two-part Great British giveaway. Thanks to Riviera Travel, you could be jetting off on a £10,000 dream holiday for two people. With flights, transfers and luxury accommodation included, you'll get to choose the kind of holiday you want. Plus, we're going to give you £30,000 in tax-free cash.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB19, PO Box 8690, Derby, DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 27th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, only on GB News.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom, and the House of Commons are just gearing up for that weekly showdown between Sir Keir Starmer and Kemi Badenoch. I was just thinking just now, Andrew, that obviously this is a big test for Kemi Badenoch each week, but I wonder if Nigel Farage gets really jealous of the opportunity to take on Keir Starmer, because, of course, his party is much higher in the polls than the Conservatives.
But because there are only 7 MPs, they are very restricted by how many questions they get at PMQs.
That's right. So he doesn't even get to ask one question every week, whereas she gets 7. So
yeah, he doesn't even, I don't think he even gets one a month.
No, he'll be. He'll have slightly more preferential treatment than just a random backbencher. That is true, but yes, not much more. Ed Davey obviously gets one a week. The SNP used to, when they were the third party in the last Parliament, but they're no longer the third biggest party, they're the fourth. But yes, it is a very lack of opportunity for Nigel Farage here.
Absolutely. Now, what I'm going to be interested in is the body language on the Labour front bench today, because we've had those protestations of loyalty to the Prime Minister, which were superficial, skin deep, not meaningful by some. I mean, I thought it was extraordinary to hear Lucy Powell, the Deputy Leader, saying how resilient Keir Starmer is when she could even be a candidate to replace him.
I know.
And where will they be sitting? So Wes Streeting, the front page of The Guardian today, saying he's still on manoeuvres, he's going to move against him in May. Will he be sitting on the front bench close to the Prime Minister?
Well, that's normally what happens, isn't it? When somebody wants to show their loyalty, they go and sit on the front bench near the Prime Minister.
And he'll have the Chancellor with him, of course. But will he have Lucy Powell with him, the Deputy Leader, because she's not in the Cabinet?
No, she's not allowed to sit on the front bench. No.
So,
I mean, that's something that Keir Starmer could do, is to bring her onto the front bench when he has a reshuffle. We understand. I think we've just seen Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, walking in now.
They arrived together, it seems to me, actually. And it's Northern Ireland questions at the moment. Hilary Benn, who is taking those questions. There were reports earlier in the week that he could be a caretaker Prime Minister if Starmer was toppled, because he personally has been appalled by the revelations over Peter Manson. He, of course, is the son of Tony Benn, the arch lefty.
Who would have hated the idea of New Labour. That was not his politics at all.
Ran for the deputy leadership of the Labour Party in 1982, 83.
Wasn't he a hereditary peer, and he renounced his hereditary title?
He was Viscount Stansgate, and he renounced his title in the early 60s.
So that he could stand...
As to become an MP,
Amazing.
Fascinating.
Amazing story.
And now, Hilary Benn's brother has taken the hereditary peerage.
Oh, so he didn't lose the title for the whole family forever?
The title was like in abeyance. And then when Tony Benn died...
It passed to his older brother.
Took the title.
How amazing.
We can now go to Prime Minister's questions. The Prime Minister's on his feet.
From the Secretary of State. 7. I give notice I intend to raise this matter on the adjournment.
What I would say is, the Honourable has put it on the record his decision. What I would say, I'm not going to extend Northern Ireland questions. So I'm now going to move on to the Prime Minister's questions. But before I do, I would like to welcome the President of Parliament, the Speaker himself, and I've got to say thank you to his delegation for arriving with us today from Estonia. So first of all, we now go to one said Toby Perkins for Prime Minister's questions.
Number 1, sir.
Prime Minister. I just say I didn't know the Prime Minister was that popular on this side.
Mr. Speaker.